Hi guys, and welcome to another video on my channel. So today I wanted to talk to you about a book that I just finished yesterday, but I was still kind of collecting my thoughts, so I couldn't really talk about it yesterday, but I thought today's the day. And they're Darken by Kiersten White. This book is a dual perspective novel. It is a historical fiction and it follows two of our main characters, and they are brother and sister, and the sister is called Lada and the brother is called Radu. This is written as a historical fiction about Vlad the Impaler if Vlad was in fact a woman, which I want to talk about at some point because it's amazing. Really interesting is that this book covers a huge span of time, like a huge span of time. It goes from Lada's birth to when she's about 16, which is a big amount of time to cover in a book, and really to be able to tell the story well and explain it well. I just think that's so impressive. I have to give it to Kiersten White because her research on this book must have been ridiculous, for real. The amount of intricacy and detail and complexity in the relationships, the writing is just really, really good. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 star rating, and I have reasons for that, for not giving it a 5-star rating. First of all, things I really loved about the book. I loved the characters. I loved Lada. I feel like she is a character that hasn't been written about yet, really. Like, I feel like obviously Vlad the Impaler was, you know, existed and it's historical, but I think in terms of having a woman that is this strong and this assertive and this I don't almost even know the words for what Lada is, because I've never seen her in writing before. Lada and Radu are younger. They are betrayed by their father and basically sold to the Ottoman Empire to keep peace between Wallachia, where he and they all live, and the Ottoman Empire. It doesn't go super well, but it basically means that they have been kind of betrayed by their own family in order just to keep the peace. It's really interesting during this time is that women are only really considered to do one thing, which is be either like a harem or have babies, and there's no other really use at all for women. And you can see how that negatively affects a lot of the characters in this book, particularly Lada and Radu's mother is really a shadow of herself. She's not really present with them. They don't acknowledge her really. They're often all in the book because she's not really around. It's kind of the premise of their life, really, and they both kind of have ridiculously different personalities. While Lada is really hard and aggressive and kind of like a natural born leader, but a bit of a scary one in some ways. She's quite unique. And then Radu is almost the opposite. He's just this lovely kind of gentle soul, but knows that he is beautiful and can easily connect with people, so he can be a little bit manipulative. He's quite strategic, where she's quite bold and not subtle, and he's quite subtle. But yeah, it's a very interesting difference between the pair of them. However, what is really cool is their brother-sister bond, which isn't often like that present in a lot of kind of YA stuff. I really love to read the bond between them. It was really interesting. And there's a part in the book where they're in the Ottoman Empire and they're getting taught by this guy, and he starts to beat Lada because she isn't doing what she's told, and she just kind of takes it or whatever. And then he realizes or thinks the way to bother her is to, instead of beating her, is to beat Radu, and she decides to not react, to not step in, to not do anything because it really does bother her, but she doesn't want Radu to get beaten up and picked on forever and used against her, so she kind of lets it happen. The phone's ringing. The other character that is kind of a big deal in the story is Mehmed, and he is the future Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. And the relationship between him and then Lada and Radu is really interesting because he loves Lada. Lada kind of loves him, but kind of doesn't always show it that well. But then the interesting thing is that Radu loves Mehmed as well, and that just kind of chucks everything into a bit of a chaotic situation. Even know, like, interesting moments between this like complexity in these three relationships, because it's almost like there's just a whole lot of weirdness, right? Because Mehmed is a shady ass individual. He often will go to the harem and he will just sleep with all the women there, and at one point Lada walks in to a garden and he's there holding his child, which he never told anyone about. Her and him kind of get together, but he's still seeing all these other women and it's just really random. And for some reason they decide that they just won't talk about it. I forgot as well that during this story that Lada only gets to the age of 16 and she's dealing with all this complexity between Mehmed and all his women and him being the future sultan and being ripped out of her country and all of that stuff, and she only in the story gets to the age of 16 and just is such an amazing character, and it just goes through so much. Really love as the story progresses that we get to see Lada really step into her own and to kind of separate herself out from other women. She gets her own league of men which she gets to handpick, and she's building up this almost like little crew of like an army, and I'm just so excited for the next book to see the kind of stuff that they get up to together, because everyone keeps saying to her, you picked right, like this is such a good group of guys, blah blah blah, and they respect her and honor her, and I can just see, like, you know, there's this really interesting tension between her and fighting against what it means to be a woman during that time, but also, like, you know, like she's just so beautifully unique, and I just really love that she just kind of paves this this dangerous, dirty path of just through all of this man's world and just sets her own thing, and just she just kills it. I really loved reading about her. Something that did bother me about this book, there were a few things which took it down from like a 5-star to about a 4-star rating. One of the things was that although Mehmed is kind of like the third main character in this story, we don't really get to know him. I feel like we really get to know Lada, we really get to know Radu, but we don't get to know Mehmed at all. Another thing I didn't really like about this book was how slow moving it was. I think maybe because it's historical fiction. I don't know, it's a very new genre for me, and I feel like I don't know, I just really lack, you know, like experience with this genre, so it's very new to me. I did find it was very slow moving, maybe because it had to go over a big span of time. There was a ridiculous amount of world building, maybe because it's going to be a series and it kind of like needs that to kind of carry on for the next 2 books, but I think because of that I found like I was just waiting for action to happen, and it kind of only happened in the last like 50 pages. Just found myself getting a little bit bored with it. I did, however, really enjoy this book. I will read the next one. I'm very excited about it. And yeah, a 4 out of 5-star rating, it ain't bad. It isn't the worst book I've read this year, but it isn't the best either. But I did really enjoy reading it. I would love to know your thoughts. Put them down below. If you want to follow any of my stuff, my Instagram, my Goodreads, my Twitter, it's all down below. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.